mai leo pana e vai kuno mai na vai mo ai luku. He lua luku e nā kānaka. I kai palaua e wana i haili karea muki ki o nā manu. Holo noa e wai o lama me ka wailapo. I ho kai me wailo pa i ke kula o hanakahi. A kai kamana o a ke aloha i noho aloha i moku ola. I ola e nā kini e, i ola e nā kini e.
Mai nei o Hilo e a ka ua kani le hua e a
ka ua o mulu ini e a ka ili o ka mali ini e a
ka lana mai nei o Hilo e a ka ua kani le hua e a
ka ua o mulu ini e a ka ili o ka malihini e a
Nani male ho i ka ikena e a ka nani o waia ke a e a ka mai o lama e a ma lama lama vai e a Nani male ho i ka ikena e a ka nani o waia ke a e a ka mai o lama e a ma lama lama vai e a
O guga hau ula ka ve ki o ka mauna he mauna ki e i hilani e he makana o ka lani Hoha I ke aloha, aloha ho'i, ho'i ke akua he I mana. E ulua I ka pono, e ho'i ka malia o kulani e. Ano ai me ke aloha, aloha kako. Welcome to this webinar process here. I see Hannah in the Anaina. In the gathered group, I see Vanessa and Jen. Aloha Jen Kagiwara. Pat, aloha Pat, and Sherry and Jackie and Lori and Kiera and Ashley and Alex and Callista and Marcia and all of us gathered here today. Aloha nui loa kako. And so when people usually say aloha nui loa kako, the other people say aloha. So can we unmute ourselves and say aloha?
Aloha.
Aloha mai.
Aloha mai
Hi.
kako.
Hi, aloha nui. So grateful and honored to be in this space with you folks. Before we get into the system design process of the day, I'd like to take a little while to explain what we're really here for. So this is the inaugural meeting of the system design team, and this is the very first. This meeting is being recorded for others who joined the system design team along the way. If you're not sure what kind of system we're designing together collaboratively, this is the reusable foodware system that we're working to get started for Hilo. So we're here today to design this reusable foodware program. We're here to learn about Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island, Perpetual, and Hawaiʻi County and those collaborations. We're here to express our aloha for Pu'uanahulu, which is the place where our trash is deposited. And we're also here to, of course, discuss the program. We're here to share about the community engagement that we've done so far, and then talk about the system design plan, and also address some of the pre-read materials. And also an intention of this gathering is to be able to have this recording for, like I said, future design team members. Something that we're going to want to be thinking of throughout this time together is listed under the discussion portion. Can you folks see my screen? Thumbs up, you can. Okay, awesome. So under the discussion portion, it asks who might be interested in being on the system design team, who might be interested in having these kinds of conversations. How should we invite them to engage in the process? Certain listservs, flyers, cold calls to businesses, etc. So those are some things that we can just be thinking about as we go through our time together today. This is a bit of a timeline. We hope to share a bit about the project background, the vision, and why reuse is important, go over the design process, and then Perpetual is going to share a bit about this alignment model and reuse in general. We're going to preview next week's topic, and we'll do some questions and closing. So that's the agenda for today. Again, my name is Ku'ulei. I come from the Panaewa area of Hawaiʻi Island. I was born and raised here. I'm very thankful to come from a family of farmers and homesteaders, and I'm grateful to contribute my experience of cultural advisement to the Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island team. I would like to tag Ellie to introduce yourself, please.
My name is Ellie Moss. I am currently based in Tampa, Florida. And thank you. I am with the Perpetual team, and we are delighted to be partnering with the Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island team and the county and the community of Hilo to work on this process. I will tag Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Navarra. I am the program director of Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island. I am one of the founding members, and last night I was reflecting on the reality that we're about to design this system to reuse takeout cups and containers, which has long been a vision of our organization. And it really was a seed that was planted in my mind, and I think many of our early members of Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island, really by Senna Barrick, who she was a former employee of the recycling section of DEM. I don't even know, she worked with Rochester Polytechnic University, which I think that's in Massachusetts. I don't know how she found this group, but she had these students do a project here where they went around and interviewed businesses and talked about the feasibility of doing a reusable foodware program. And that's really, I think, where it started for us saying, okay, let's make this happen. And so it's really excited to see us at this point now. There's been many people along the way of where we are today that contributed to getting to this point. And so I just want to honor and thank all of those people that were part of Zero Waste or partner DIA, Sustainability Committee. There's been a lot of community members that have this vision, and I'm so happy we're here. And so I'm a little bit going long-winded, but I wanted to share all of that. Thank you.
Mahalo, Jen.
I have to tag someone. I will tag Ellen.
Good morning. My name's Ellen Okuma, and I'm a volunteer with Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island, and I'm also a project director for Nopaho in working with the locavore store. So nice to see everyone. I tag TC.
Good morning. My name is Tall Chief Comment. I'm also a volunteer with Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island, and I'm the Sustainability Advisor Emeritus for the group, a retired university administrator. And so I'm very excited to see a lot of the progress that's been made in the short time that I've been involved with the group just since this last summer. So excited to be here and looking forward to a productive set of meetings. And I tag Hōkeo.
I'm really thankful to just share a little bit about Hōkeo. So Hōkeo is our she's on our like design graphic. She's our graphic design person. She helps with the banners and also the website, and also she's done some drafting for maps for us, and Hōkeo's assistance has been absolutely indispensable. So mahalo, Hōkeo, for your work. I'd like to tag Autumn.
Hi everyone, I'm Autumn Hubert, and I am on the Perpetual side of this project and based in Tampa, Florida. And I will pass it over to Craig with the county.
Yeah, so I'm Craig Hovici with Perpetual Hawaii Environmental Management, currently TAing into the recycling coordinator position.
I think that's it. I think that's it from the staff end.
We have one more.
Don't
forget. It's easy. It's easy because I hail from the other side of the earth from a time zone perspective. Over here in the darky side of the world right now, I'm in Paris, and I'm with the Perpetual team and just thrilled to be able to support the enormous and excellent work of Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island and this entire process. So, mahalo.
Awesome, Dagny. Mahalo. I'm sorry that I missed you because yes, you're all the way in Paris. So that's the team. So we are 3 organizations working together. We are Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island, we are Perpetual, we are the County of Hawaii. And our work together involves the collaboration to plan this system. So we'll get a bit into that in just a moment. And then I see all of your introductions in the chat, and I love that so many of our wahi, I meant to say wahi, but I think it said what in the chat, but so many of our wahi are along the Wailuku River. So the Wailuku River begins at the summit of Mauna Kea and trickles down, but flows down via a river that's called the Wailuku River. And the Wailuku River goes through Piʻihonua, through this place called Kepuas, which is like the nickname for the place because I think it used to be the old radio station tower. And it goes through Piʻihonua to Peʻepeʻe Falls, where my best friend lives. And then it goes through the rest of the town into downtown Hilo, through Waianuenue Falls, which we had in some of our materials from previous workshops, and then down into Kaipalawa, which comes out of the downtown Hilo area, and then further along the coast, we get to Honolulu. So just so beautiful to reflect on all of the work and all of the places, the beautiful places that we're connected to. Mahalo for sharing. I'm sorry, Ellie, did you introduce yourself? Did we miss you? You went first after me, right?
I did. I'm all
Okay.
set.
All
I didn't
right. Good job.
introduce Perpetual, but I think we get to that later. So
Yeah, I think so. I think so for sure.
Thanks.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, aloha nui loa kako, aloha. Okay, so let's share a little bit about the project background about Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island. So we are again the local organization partnering. This is us. We just introduced ourselves. So wonderful. So Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island, we're a small organization, and supported by our mission, vision, and values, our primary focus and our primary work is to re-indigenize zero waste. And the Reusable Foodware program is a part of that work. So we just went through this rebranding phase. We're in such deep gratitude for Deva from the Keola Nui Ohana for her work on our logo. Our mission is to engage diverse Hawaiʻi Island communities to achieve zero waste, but our vision is to do that through Kanaka Aina Akua connections and the restoration of family systems, community systems, and equitable policy. Our values are just an embodiment of that vision, but our values are Kanaka Aina Akua, Ohana Kaiaulu Aupuni. That translates to human or individual health, land stewardship, interconnectedness, family, community, and civic duty through governance. So all of those things are just to say that there's a very big gap between zero waste culture and indigenous culture and Native Hawaiian culture. So we work to bridge that gap so that we can all be in community together as we address these really important issues. So that's just a brief some brief information about Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island. We partner with No Poho, which Ellen, I think, mentioned earlier in her introduction. So right now, No Poho's legacy work and the awesome work that's in the community is happening through the Locavore store, which is next to Ben Franklin in Hilo. If you go there and are interested in sweetened or fresh, sweetened cold brew coffee or fresh coconut water, there's a model of reusable foodware or drinkware happening in that store and in that space. I also want to say, when I say reusable foodware, I really mean reusable food and drinkware. So it's not just exclusive only to food. So that's how we're going on with that. So far, we've done some workshops in the Hilo community. There were 4 general community workshops, 1 stakeholder meeting, and we engaged with over 250 community members during the workshop week. So this is not including any of the work that Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island did before these workshops. At least this slide is not including that. But there was lots of engagement that happened in relationship to the design of this reusable foodware program. We also spoke with 38 stakeholders and potential partners, and we conducted outreach at 22 different events, engaging approximately 726 community members. And we hosted a workshop for Pacific Islanders and Native Hawaiians, acknowledging cultural connections to the Reusable Foodware project. So that was, we did that through the Ho'opili Aina gathering. And the Ho'opili Aina gathering yielded an indigenous consensus that allowed us to move forward in working through this project. So the process was that Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island recognized a very big need for the Hawaii community. Then Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island applied to work with Perpetual. Perpetual accepted our invitation. And together we applied for some funding from the EPA, from the Environmental Protection Agency. And that funding was intended for the county. So then we collaborated and partnered with the county to establish this part of the system. So that's an oversimplified version of how we got here. This next portion is on the vision and why reuse is important. Does anybody recognize, okay, anybody outside of the team, recognize the place that's in the photo in this slide? Anybody recognize these pu'u people? It's okay because it's on the other side of the island. It's not in Hilo.
Is that the landfill?
Get it right now.
This is the landfill. Oh, you're over there. Okay, yeah. This is totally it's not only the landfill, but the pu'u, like so the hill people in the background, you see all of this hill region, that is the Pu'uanahulu and Pu'uva'ava'ahupua'a. So those are land divisions, ancient land divisions, that are famous for their historical relationship to ranching and farmers. Ku'ule Keakealani is one of my beloved aunties, and she was born in the Pu'uanahulu area. And so it's a very special place, and it just so happens to be that there's also a landfill there. Yes, so that's correct. Who said that? Was that you, Lori, or Kiara? Who said that?
That was me. It was Kira.
Kiara, awesome. Thank you. Yes, Polode, correct. So when we're looking at the vision for the reusable foodware program and system, and also why it's important, we are able to reflect on the following. Okay, so in Hilo, well, there's economic benefit. The consumer experience of having like this kind of thing is cooler than the plastic cup experience. That's a benefit, you know. A reusable foodware system in our community would provide an opportunity for economic development. And that's kind of a buzzword when it comes to people introducing things into Hawaii communities. But genuinely, it provides an opportunity for people to collaborate organization to organization. I'm really excited about that. But the most significant to me anyway, that's the most significant reason that reuse is important is because Hilo, we have 40,000 plus residents in Hilo. In all of Hawaii County, we have 200,000 plus residents. We have 15,000 plus commercial businesses, and we have 1.5 million plus tourists annually. And all of the trash generated from all of those different demographics are deposited in that area there. So this is Pu'uva'ava'a and Pu'uanahulu, the Pu'u, the hills. And below it are the rubbish trucks. Can you see the trucks in that little photo there? Like if you look really closely, those are not sheep. Those are rubbish dump trucks. So at the foot of these most beautiful places is where all of our trash goes. So it's important. Also, there's only one. We have one landfill on this whole island. So when I go to the rubbish dump in Hilo, all of my trash daily is trucked to Pu'uanahulu. So it's a complex system, and there's a need for the reduction of our waste. Just to further explain, if you're at the landfill, if you're in Pu'uanahulu Ahupua'a, if you're in that area, you will be able to see the first photo, Pu'uanahulu Mauka. So you'll see all of that uplands area of the hills. If you look toward the ocean, you will see Haleakala. It's faint, but this faint image here, that's Haleakala of Maui, which is a completely different island. But you can see that from the landfill. You see this orange cone looking thing by the stop sign? So that is a scale. So when people come in, they have to drive onto the scale, weigh their car, go and dump their trash, then come back onto this scale so that they can be charged the difference. So people who dump their trash here need to pay to do that. So that's the scale. And then Haleakala Maui, it's just a beautiful thing to see the relationship island to island. If you just turn like this much, if you can see me, you just turn a little bit this way, and then you'll be able to see the Kohala Mountains. The Kohala Mountains they're the mountain range associated with the area of Hawaii that is Kohala. And you turn a bit further, and you'll be able to see Mauna Kea, which is the highest mountain in the world if you're looking at it from sea level, from below sea level. I'm sorry. If you measure from below sea level, Mauna Kea is the tallest mountain in the whole world. So you can also see Mauna Kea from the landfill. You can also see Keawaiki Bay, which is actually, this is a bit further down the road, but it's Pu'uanahulu is facing Keawaiki, and a part of Keawaiki is in that land division. And all of this is surrounding the landfill. So just to put into perspective the urgency of our need to reduce waste in general. Now imagine this collaboration, okay? I didn't read this in the beginning slides, but pursuant to a particular law that we have in Hawaii, which honors and recognizes that Hawaiian language is one of our officially recognized state languages. Not all of the Hawaiian language in this slide will be, in this slide deck or in any of the things that we do, will always be translated. So the expectation is that you try to infer and figure out what the word is, or go look it up, because that's available at a Hawaiian dictionary near you, okay? Online, I mean. Okay, anyway, as you order your mea'ai or mea inu, you borrow a cup or dish that holds your food or drink securely. When your meal is pau, you return the cup or dish to one of the bins placed around town, where it's picked up, washed, and sanitized to be used again and again. Okay, so this is the system that we're asking folks to imagine as we design the system. Okay, this is some reuse lexicon. These are some of the words that we were able to have translated with the help of Ika'aka Nahue Vai, who works at the Kahakaʻula o Ke'ali Kolani College of Hawaiian Language. Reusable foodware is going to translate actually to returnable foodware. So if you don't understand, for Hawaiians, everything is reusable. Butter containers, everything. Okay, everything is reusable. But the significance of the program is you're going to return it. So not just use it and use it again, you're going to return it. So it's a returnable container, you see? So can everyone unmute yourself and say, Hōkeo Hoʻihoʻi. Yes, indigenous, yes. That means reusable foodware, okay? Next, we're going to say, we said Hōkeo. Hōkeo is a general word for container, which can be applied also to foodware, and also a drinkware. Like a cup is also a type of container, so this is also a Hōkeo. It's like a container here, something that contains something. Okay, the kainoa actually means to register. But checking out, the process of checking out means you're going to register your connection to this item here. So can everyone say kainoa?
Kainoa.
Yes. Kainoa is the name. Kainoa means to poke your name onto something, to prod your name to be assigned to something. So register, you see. The next word is ho'ahu, which means to store up. Can everyone say ho'ahu?
Ho'ahu.
Not o'ahu. That's a different word. Okay. Ho'ahu means to store. So we'll go through the process in a bit. Everyone say we'll go through to ho'iliili.
Ho'iliili.
Yes, indigenous, yes. It means to transport. So that's when the stored containers are then transported. Lastly, because we said hoʻihoʻi and the word hoʻi in the first word, let's say holoi. It means wash. Holoi. Yes, very good. We're all just fluent here. We're just fluent. We're sounding real fluent. Very good, very good. So just as a note, we were able to, this relationship between Zero Waste Hawaii Island and Perpetual is a really cool example of indigenous collaboration. It's not, oh, we'll do something and then you'll do something. It's no, we're doing these things together. This is togetherness. So I'm just very thankful to Perpetual for making space and allotting funds to have a lot of this work translated by Ika'aka. We're going to go through some of those things now. Okay, so this is how it works. This is what we're imagining all of the folks in the system design team to contribute their mana'o or their thoughts too. The process is this. First, someone would spot the reusable, which would look like this. So that means you're in a store, Ken's Pancake House, Don's Grill, Ola Brew, and you're looking to see if they participate with the program. Okay, so then you see these cups and you're like, oh yes, very good. Because I was going to forget my cup anyway. So good thing they have them. Okay, so then you spot it. You're like, okay, they participate. The next step is you check it out. So just like a library book, there would be some system of checking something out, whether it's with an app or a card or a program. There would be some kind of checkout system happening here. So you receive the food or drink that you buy in the container that you're checking out. See, that's how it happens. This is my favorite step, my favorite of all the steps. Okay, this is the most important step. You need to enjoy your food and drink. Okay, you eat the thing that you're eating, you drink the thing that you're drinking. And you don't have to, depending on the design of the cup, you don't have to worry about it leaking. You don't have to worry about it spilling or crumpling or any kind of those types of things. So you would enjoy your food and drink, and then you would drop off your container. So for people, as we're working on indigenizing this work, for people who don't have access to, or just in general, disadvantaged folks in general who don't have access to hot water to wash their dishes well, who don't have access to running water at all, because people are like, why can't I just wash my own? Well, not everybody has the means to do that, but surely everybody, we're working to design the system in a way that everyone can participate. So you would just have to drop it off in a kini Hōʻihoʻi or like a return bin that are conveniently placed throughout the town. Then containers are collected. So the stored up containers are then collected and transported to the washing station where they'll be washed and sanitized. So not just like washed, but sanitized with heat, ideally, a heat sanitization. Then the containers are redistributed to the folks who are participating with the system. So that's ideally how that works. Okay. I was going to say, does anyone have any questions? But essentially, we'll save our questions toward the end. There's a Q&A portion. So in this overview of the design process, I want to restate and re-emphasize that we started this work with the Ho'opili'aina gathering. And the Ho'opili'aina gathering was a gathering of Oiwi people, or people whose bones are ancestrally buried in Hilo and in Hawaiʻi. And even beyond that, the people whose bones, like their ancestral bones, are buried in the land across the Pacific. So there was a diverse group of people that came to that meeting, and it was the initial meeting that said, hey, we have an opportunity to partner with Perpetual to make this really cool system. But if you don't want it, we're not doing it. Like, we're not going to do it if it's not going to work. And if it's not going to work if you don't like it. So in that meeting was Uncle Jerry Konanui's grandson, Hayden. He's a beautiful, wonderful friend of mine. In that meeting, we had food from Keaukaha General Store, and they donated some mea'ai, so juicy pua'a kalua that my dad raised and killed and emu'd. We had ulu and kalo from the Hawaii Ulu Co-op, and some of it was from my tree. So like all of those interactions are happening in the planning process and have happened thus far. And there was some resistance to this program in general in the beginning of that meeting. And as we talked about problems and solutions related to the program, toward the end of our time together, there was a consensus that there should be some kind of program here. There was some concern with bringing more plastic into Hawaii because we have a limited way of being able to deal with that at their end of life. but the consensus was that that's happening anyway, and we can reduce that amount by bringing in some of those things if that's a necessary part of the process. So anyway, because of that Indigenous consensus, we were excited to move forward and into those perpetual workshops with the 200 something participants. So the Ho'opili Aina gathering happened first, which was necessary. So here we are. We've sought some consult from Oiwi people. We've gathered general community feedback, and we're now in a position to create the plan, to create the general plan. So you folks who are here with us today, and as we go throughout this timeline of designing this thing, we're setting all the data and all of the feedback. We're setting it into a plan, and then we'll present that plan to the community and have a couple of opportunities to revise it. So there's lots of engagement happening, and this is the timeline. So this is today is January 18th. This is the week of January 15th. And this week was focused on the foundations, the overview, the design plan, and sharing about some of the funding. This meeting will serve as the orientation and overview to the design process. Next week, we'll talk about the revenue models and previewing some of the incentives. The following week, we'll go over incentive. POS stands for point of sale, nothing else in this context. Okay. Incentives and point of sale technology. So the technology of like scanning or app or what should we do with that? You see, so what kind of system should we pursue when it comes to that part of the program? We'll talk about the type of reuse. This is so cool. You see this? Do you see my cup here? This is a Sig Zane cup that I got for playing music at a thing, but it says He ono mauli no. Wow. This is not a kind of cup that we would want in the system because people would not be returning them. Okay, so those are the types of things that we have to consider as we're designing that, and that will happen on the week of February 5th for the meeting on February 8th. Okay, so that's that. On the week of the 12th and on the 15th, we'll meet to discuss the collection bin design and management and the governance of the different parts of the program. And then lastly, we'll discuss and make some decisions on washing, logistics, labor, and surge events, which are like Merry Monarch, Ho'olaulea, big type events that happen. Like, how are we going to manage the labor for that? You see, so there's a lot to decide on how we want to do things. And even if there isn't any space for, like, I'm not a business owner. Yeah, but you're probably going to use the system, right? I mean, generally, hopefully. So if you can think of anybody that's interested in having a say, because sometimes the system will be developed and they'll be like, how come it's like this? I didn't want this kind of thing. This leaks like this. But they heard about the meetings and they didn't come. So we have to get as many people as we can to come to these things so that we can include everybody's perspective in the design moving forward. So following all of those meetings, the admin, so the Perpetual, the county, and the Zero Waste Hawaii Island team will form a draft system design document. And then we'll present that draft to the community and review it, then make some edits, then present it again, then make some edits, then finalize the design and initiate the RFP request for proposal process. And then we'll move on to implementation. Okay, so output of who put that in there? What is that? Let's see, I can just read it. A system design document that reflects community feedback, industry knowledge, and ongoing discussions with representatives from underserved communities. Oh, yes. This plan will serve as an outline for the proposed reusable foodware program and will guide the RFP and implementation processes. Yes, that's correct about this work that we're doing. Okay, so I'm very thankful for the time that I was able to spend in explaining this to you. To conclude the root end of my contribution to this meeting, I would just like to say that as an Oiwi person, like as a Hawaiian person, as a Hawaiian activist in a lot of spaces, there's been so many introduced programs that were not considerate of my individual and community's mana'o. And I'm always like, no, don't bring that here. That's not, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. That's not going to happen here, you know? But I've spent a lot of time thinking about this work, and I've decided to be a part of this process. It's because like the way that my house and my family is set up, I eat out a lot. Like I go to like restaurants or take out food. I'm always rushing because I have to work 10 jobs. So because of that, I eat out a lot and I make a lot of rubbish. And so this system is very important to me personally. And I invite each of you not to see this as some kind of weird program coming to Hawaii and we have to be scared and fearful of it, but to really embrace its capacity to support pu'uanahulu in the ways that we can make less rubbish and put less rubbish into this Aina Aloha. So anyway, just mahalo for thinking in this way with me and for allowing me to facilitate this space. I'd like to now hand it over to Ellie of Perpetual to talk about the alignment model. And you can just say next slide and I'll pop this next slide button here.
Perfect. Thanks, Pule.
Yes.
Thank you for all of that wonderful introduction. I feel very grounded in the process, and I've been part of the process. So it feels very nice to have all of that laid out. I would love to say 30 seconds about Perpetual, because I'm not sure if everyone on the call knows who we are. So Perpetual is a nonprofit. We are not based anywhere in particular. Our team is distributed, as you probably noticed in the introductions, and our mission is to support communities in their desire for reusable foodware programs. So Perpetual is an organization that has a lot of technical expertise, experience, both as an organization and as a team of individuals to understand how to design and implement successful reuse systems. And that our purpose in this process is to bring that knowledge and that experience into this process to help support the process so that this system can be as successful as possible. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Part of how we're supporting this process is just bringing different tools and structures. So one of those is an alignment model. So I'm sure that, well, I guess I don't know for sure. Anyone who's ever participated, even in a group deciding where to go for dinner, it can be hard to agree as groups of people. So the way that we will be handling that throughout the first 6 weeks of this process, at least, is through what we're calling an alignment model. So Kule, if you don't mind skipping to the next slide. What this means is that, you know, as we have the next 5 weeks of discussions, we're going to be striving for alignment. And what that means in this context is that everyone who's part of the design process is willing to support the decision that's been proposed. And I'll talk about exactly how this process works on the next slide, but just to sort of start with definitions. Alignment means that you are able to take a decision forward in good conscience and uphold it as if it was your own. So it might not have been your very first choice. It might not be the thing that you think would be exactly perfect, but having listened to the discussion, having understood the data and the trade-offs and the perspectives of others in the process, you understand why this decision has been proposed and you're willing to support it. So that's what we're really looking for when we meet as a group and we discuss things as we're looking to achieve alignment. The main thing that gets in the way of alignment is what we call paramount and principled objections. And there's an opportunity in the discussion process. There'll be a moment where we harvest objections. And so that is where we give everyone time to think about what's been proposed. We have time, and I'll get to the process in a second. So let me not restate it all here, but what is a paramount and principled objection? It comes from a sincerely felt concern that the proposed decision may cause harm. And that's really what we're obviously trying to avoid in this context. First, do no harm is sort of a good rule of operating in life. And that is absolutely what we're looking for here. So as we go through this process, what we'll be doing is we'll constantly ask ourselves, is this safe to try? Is this something that we can go forward with in good conscience? Will it be perfect? Well, we're not going to know until we do it. But might it cause harm? If so, then we want to revisit and think about how to make sure we're not causing harm. So that's just an introduction to some key definitions for what is part of the decision process. Kule, next slide, please. So in our design meetings, we will be using this 7+ step process to make sure that we are hearing everything we need to hear from the group and that everything is being sufficiently considered before we consider the group as being in alignment. So the first step will be that a proposal will be put forward. It may be that Perpetual is putting forward the proposals. It may be that others wish to put forward proposals. So we will see as the process evolves where the proposals come from. But this is the start of this process, is that there is a proposal to be considered. The first thing we do is we ask questions for clarification. So this is not the discussion round yet, it's questions for, well, do you mean this? Or did you mean this or that? So we're not getting into, I think this is terrible because, or I think this is great because, but it's really, what exactly is this? I want to make sure I understand it before I react to it. From there, and so then those questions are answered. One by one, we go through questions, we exhaust all the questions. Then we go into the reaction round. And this is a chance for people to share thoughts about the proposal. But in this round, we don't necessarily address each of the reactions as it comes up. It's listening. So we're listening to all the reactions and we're recording them and capturing them, but we're not debating, right? It's really more of a listening process. Then the facilitator or facilitators, and they may be different people at different points in time, but the facilitator of whatever this meeting is at this time does their best job to restate the proposal to address concerns that people have raised so far or new ideas that have been introduced that make it better. So we get to a revised proposal. And then if needed, we go back to step 2 and answer questions and we get more reactions. But eventually we get to a point where the proposal seems to have pretty strong momentum. But before we get to the point where we all say thumbs up, we take time for the objection round. And this is where people have the opportunity to raise a paramount and principled objection and effectively to really require that the proposal be reevaluated before it can go forward. And we take time in steps 5 and 6 until we get to a point where we feel as a group that we're ready to test for alignment. And then this is the opportunity to see if we're aligned. If we are, then great. If not, we go back to previous steps until we get to alignment. Or in the context of this design process, since we don't have infinite time and resources, it may be that we get as close to alignment as we can. We record all of the thoughts and objections, and then we take some of those concerns into the next phase if needed. So we may not achieve full alignment on every single call, and that's okay. The most important thing is that we're hearing questions, we're hearing reactions, and we're hearing objections. Kule, if you're going to comment, you should unmute.
Yes, mahalo for this. I think my husband should take a few notes on this kind of process, okay, because I think
I offer this to everyone wherever it may serve you in your life.
Yes, thank you.
All right, the third piece I wanted to, thank you, Kule. Next slide then. So this is a little bit of like the fine print of the process. It's important to have these as ground rules, but I don't want to I don't want to spend too much of our time on this today, but they'll be, Kule, could you drop the slides and load them again? Because it looks like an edit didn't fully load here. So unshare, just reload. While she's doing that, I can speak to some of the ground rules. So the first one, which you'll see more completely in just a moment, is that this process is really a Hilo community engagement process. And it's open to all. So individuals or organizations that are not members of the Hilo community can participate in the discussion, but their alignment is not required for the process to move forward. We are not arbiters of who or who is not in the Hilo community. So there will, it's really a self-identification. It does, whether it's not like you have to live in there a certain number of days or years, like it's really just, this is for the Hilo community, you know who you are and you know who you aren't. So we recognize that that's important. A couple others that I'll run through, Hule, hopefully that's not, there we go. Thank you so much. Sorry that we had a little hiccup there. A lot of real-time editing here. Participants in the process agree to work collaboratively, respectfully. I think this all sort of goes without saying, but sometimes it does need to be said to make sure that everyone is on the same page. A couple of things I just wanted to particularly call out. Certainly this is not a process that is being used to promote, solicit, or advertise any commercial intentions or purposes. If you have a really great compostable something fabulous, this is not the place to come and talk about it. We expect people to listen and value other people's perspectives. We will only have one person speaking at a time to ensure that everyone is heard. And in this one, I think is particularly important. Nobody here, we are all here representing ourselves. And unless you have the explicit and specific direction and approval to represent a group, please do not represent yourself as speaking on behalf of a group. I think that's just really important for the transparency and for the sort of integrity of the process. So those are all of our ground rules. And I think in the spirit of saving all the questions to the end, I think I'll just go ahead with Reuse 101 and then we'll make sure that there's space at the end. So I think I'm ready to go to the next section, Kule. Reuse 101. Kule, you've already done a wonderful job of Reuse 101. I'll go through some additional pieces that are sort of just additional resources that Perpetual brings or can speak to in this context. But your description of what is reuse? Why would we do this? I thought you covered a lot of that really well. So I'm not going to rehash things that Kule has already covered, but a few things that we did think would be important for this conversation. When we think about where reuse is happening, reuse can happen in what we would consider closed loop spaces. So that's our little blue box here. And those are things where you're getting food, you're eating, you're leaving all of your stuff there, and then you are leaving without bringing anything with you. So it could be a cafeteria, it could be a stadium event, it could be a, any kind of a place where you're going in and you're not taking anything with you when you leave. Sometimes we eat in that context. I think the reality of modern life is a lot of our consumption happens more in an open loop context, which is what you see kind of in the bigger square on the left in the white background. Closed loop exists within an open loop. So, we think about those spaces as also being part of this program, but there's a recognition that open loop means you might get a cup of coffee, a cup of juice, you might get a kombucha, and you might want to take it with you where you're going next. And so this is exactly what Kule was describing earlier. We want things to be able to move around, but not get lost, not get wasted, not get thrown away. So how do we create a system that is sort of operating in the open loop context, which includes islands of closed loop facilities as well? Next slide, please. I don't know how much anybody, I spend sort of all day, every day thinking about reuse. So I feel like it is the entire universe at this point. But for a lot of people who might be joining us in this process, reuse might still be something that is sort of in this context that is not a super familiar concept, or it's something that you might be asking yourself, like, is this possible? Is anyone actually doing this anywhere? Is this happening today? So I wanted to share a little bit of data about what is happening. We have here a list of, we've done sort of some landscape work, and you can see that by our calculations, we have over 50 different programs attempting to do this in Europe and another 34 programs attempting to do this in the US. Programs are often being added, and unfortunately programs are often shutting down. So these numbers are directional, I would say, but know that this is something that is very much happening today. This is something that a lot of people are working very hard to make real. Here are some of the examples, and actually the next several slides are a bunch of additional examples. So this is what we're proposing to do in Hilo is bigger in the sense that it would really cover the whole community, and it would provide infrastructure at the whole community level, which is not true really in any of the places on this page. But it is building off of all of the work that is being done in all of these places. So we're learning what has worked, what hasn't worked. These are places that are testing technology, they're testing items. What can you wash 1,000 times and people still want to use it? So a lot of really great work is happening, and we're trying to build on that and really bring all of that into this process in Hilo, so that the Hilo system can be very successful and sort of stand on the shoulders of a lot of this other work. So next slide, Kule, if you don't mind. These are all examples, and I love showing pictures because I think it makes it a bit more real. So this is one example. There's a company called Reusables.com that has been working on reuse systems, and you can see on this slide pictures of, this is what their little checkout system looks like. In the upper left-hand corner there, you're tapping items and credit cards to be able to check things out. You can see their containers have little RFID tags on the bottom of them, on the little containers. Their return bin is this very glowy light box that you can see here. And then on the right-hand side, you can see they have an app that shows you where all of the locations, the participating locations are. So this is, happening today. They are actually doing a great job, but it's still something that I think we can build on and take advantage of in this context. They haven't solved it quite at the level that we hope to solve it in Hilo so far. Next slide, please. And Kule, I see you unmuted. Did you want to jump in?
Yeah, this reminds me of just kind of like going back to this other slide with the countries on it. Hawaii, and I'm like just fast forwarding.
There you go.
Historically, Hawaii had electricity in the in Iolani Palace before the White House had electricity. So just the way that we were so beautifully engaged with people from other countries as a country. We had multiple treaties with multiple countries, and just we were very open to these new ideas. So this reminds me of that. Like we're having an opportunity to be able to jump on board with this very beginning startup type program to really be of service to our people here. So just really cool, and thanks for all of this work.
Thank you, Kule.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a few more examples. There's a company called Dispatch Goods. You can see their containers look a little bit different than the others, and they do a variety of different foods. They do some packaging as well as food, like takeout food. So they have a couple different things. I want to not belabor these too much, so maybe we can skip to the next one. I think the next one is another example of a takeout food container system. So this is a company called Deliver Zero, which is operating in New York City, but they're also now operating in Boulder, Colorado, and I believe in Los Angeles as well. So, you know, still operating not at the scale that I think they would like to be operating, and that, you know, we would love to see happening in Hilo, but really great example of a system that there is demand for. People are using it, people are enjoying it, and I know a lot of people do ask, like, well, do they get those containers back? And they would tell you they really do. They get very, very, like 99% of them do come back into the system. So we can have faith in humanity that when you set up a system well, it can work. Next slide, please. There are some big companies that are testing these kinds of systems as well. Starbucks, everyone's, I think it's a very well-known brand. So they've been doing pilots. They haven't done any very large rollouts, but on the left, you see a bin that they designed as part of their pilot on the university campus of Arizona State. And then on the right, it's hard to see in this picture, but that's a return bin where when you set the cup on it and you have the code oriented in the right way, it turns green underneath it and it drops it into the bin. And we can share the video later if that's interesting to folks. But you know, even companies as large as Starbucks recognize the need for this kind of change, and they're trying to see, you know, what will work for them. You know, how can they be part of the solution? Next slide. Tim Hortons is the Starbucks of Canada, and so actually it's really the Dunkin' Donuts of Canada, to be more specific. And they have a program that they've been working on. They have their very signature red cups, so they've been using sort of their own branded items, and then they have, you can see their return bin is here on the right. Next slide, please. Muse is a company that's been doing reuse. They operate in Singapore and I think 1 or 2 other locations. I'm not sure about the exact current details on that at this moment, but they have operated in a variety of places, and you can see they have their own style of return bin and their own sort of check-in and check-out process. So this is just to give you a flavor of, no, we're good, we can go on, Kule, thank you. Hopefully those photos and examples give you a sense that we're not trying to invent something completely from scratch and completely new. What we're trying to do is take a lot of work that's already been done in other places and think about what makes the most sense for Hilo. You know, how can we learn from what's been done, adopt, or, you know, borrow or steal, not steal, adopt things that have been done elsewhere, and put them in context such that they can be really successful for the Hilo program. A few last things I want to say just about sort of reuse from a one-on-one perspective, 101 perspective. One of the reasons that reuse startups have such a hard time getting reuse to scale and to work is that reuse works best when you have the whole system in place. So as Kule described earlier, when you find a reusable item at every place you go, everywhere you're going to get your food and your drinks, they have the option there. When you're done, it works best if there's collection bins all over town so that it's very easy for you to find one. It's very convenient. You drop it in the bin. You don't have to go out of your way. And it works best when you have high capacity washing machines that can do a really high quality high volume job of washing things so that you have more efficiency in those systems. They tend to be able to wash things with less water per item, less detergent per item, less energy per item. So you have environmental efficiencies there as well as economic efficiencies. It's cheaper to wash more things faster than to wash things individually and slowly. And excuse me, there's my dog, Nail's here. And the last thing that I wanted, well, actually, this is the second last thing I wanted to talk to is we take very seriously that the system is meant to be optimizing. It's not just, you know, let's do it at all costs or let's make it work no matter what, but the system for it to be successful has to work economically. It has to work environmentally. It has to be better than disposables environmentally. It has to be healthy and safe. It has to work well in the context of city or county planning and working with city and county resources. And it has to be equitable, inclusive, and accessible. So these are the things that we kind of consider non-negotiables when we go through this process is how do we make sure that all of these things are true? And if they aren't true, we need to make them true. And if we can't make them be true, then we need to think of something else to do. So the last thing that I wanted to speak to, Kule, before we hand it off to the next piece, if you go to the next slide, is I want to just give people a sense of the overall process that we're in. So Kule already gave you a really great overview of a lot of the work that's been done so far. And here we are in the orange box, the community design process. Here we are, it's happening. We're still kind of at the beginning of this process, though, if you think about it. So once we've gone through this process, we have the plan, and we are able to then go forward with a request for proposal to identify who will operate the system. One or more entities, you know, may support the operation of the system. And then we'll have a process to get the system set up. So getting everything in place from a governance perspective, making sure we have equipment, providers, space, permits, and businesses who wish to participate. We'll go into a pre-launch phase to really kind of get everything up and running, testing, you know, get ready to press go. We'll launch, and then there will be a system of continuous improvement to make sure that the system is continually responsive to the needs of businesses, the community, and other stakeholders. So just to orient you as sort of where we are in the big picture process as well as in the design process. And that is all that I have. So I think I'm handing it to Autumn for a preview of the beginning of our process, which will be starting next week.
Yeah, thanks, Ellie. So I just wanted to go over the topic that we'll be covering next week. So we will be looking at different revenue models that can help just make sure that the system is paid for and can continue over time. So some of these include the pay-per-reuse model, a monthly fee for businesses, a consumer subscription model, a model that relies on people not returning the containers, and then a utility service model. So we will dig into each of these models, discuss what they mean, and then go over some of the pros and cons of each and how they may impact the system if we choose that option in Hilo. So I will hand it back to Kule to get some questions answered and close us out.
Yeah, right on. Mahalo, everybody, to the Perpetual team and Peg, and also everybody who's taking the time out of their day to join us live. Jen, Kakiwara, just good to Kalista, just everyone. Good to see you folks in this space. This is also for people joining us online or joining us via the recording afterward. So if you have any questions, that might be helpful for them to hear too. So please don't be shy to share any of the questions that you might have. Anybody have any questions? Mana'o? I think, I don't know if it's He'e or he, and I think you're Auntie, but so maybe you're Auntie Marcia.
Yes, mahalo. I was just typing a question. Thank you, Ku'ule and everyone. I wondered, I'm very curious to know what has been in your experience, the kind of feedback from our Indigenous community participants.
That's so awesome to ask that. Something I wanted to share. So The idea is that people in general in the design process, people will be able to have like these pre-read materials. So we'll be posting these pre-read materials before the discussion. Something that I shared in the pre-read material is something that would be really helpful to answer that question. And this is just can you see my screen?
We
Okay.
see your background and your PowerPoint right now with the slides.
Okay. Let's see. I wanted to share just a brief review of this. Can you see the part of the process?
Yeah, we see the website.
Okay, cool. You can still see it?
Yep, you're scrolling now. We see it.
So I put the link in the chat to this section here. And so this design discussion portion will have the required readings and still come if you don't do the readings. But this is the document that we put together. So this document actually is really an in-depth explanation of all of the values of Zero Waste Hawaii Island, and then goes into the vision and how you can participate. A lot of the stuff that we shared today. But there, let's see. This one. So this is the Ho'opili Aina gathering that solicited the mana'o from our indigenous community. And this is some of the feedback that we got. So people have supported reuse, but they didn't support like importing things more things, which would end up being trash in Hilo. People said that lots of people are set in their ways. We should start small with maybe cups, so this is a list of the feedback. But something that was most impactful to me is this mana'o here. It says, we need to recenter zero waste to include Kanaka Aina Akua connections and disrupt our relationship to waste by restoring our relationship to cultural practices. We need to take responsibility for our opala by continuing to engage in conversations and work surrounding the concepts of less is more, aloha aina oia i'o, and slower lifestyles that allow for home-cooked meals and washing dishes. We are interested in natural biodegradable materials that can withstand sanitation and multiple washes over time, but we talked about how that's not always feasible or possible with the technology that exists and doesn't exist today. Lots of people are saying we need to continue to advocate for the ability to bring our own containers. Some people feel like when we're transporting the materials like back and forth, that's going to be like gas and like we'll be using fossil fuels with that. Most relevantly, or like most notably to me, it says we're trying to centralize systems that should be imposed at an independent household level. These types of systems are hard to start and hard to get going. We should start kids young and teach them how to recycle and live simply. We should look into recycling local plastics. And so this is the general ideas in the beginning of our work together. But as we worked through the system design survey questions and such, toward the end of the conversation, there was a consensus. But does that answer your question, Ati Barsha? Oh, am I still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm so sorry. Yes, it answers my question very well. And it sounds like we have a good chance to make it work with our local folks, as I put it. From my past experience with recycling through the years since the 70s, I think the education, once it gets into, our schools, especially, and that, I think I would like to see that. I think I'm very hopeful for it. I'm really glad to see this at this point. Maikai, mahalo.
Mahalo piha for your mana'o aloha. It's hard because when people see anybody who is not really brown and that came from not Hawaii, they're like, no, we don't want to do work with them. So it's a lot of work to be like, no, it's okay. Like this is a good work,
It's good work.
Ku'ule.
Yeah. Yes.
And Auntie Marcia. One of the things that we're doing what you're seeing in the presentation today and this foundational workshop is how we're going forward. But there's some other work that we're doing that Zero Waste Hawaiʻi Island is doing along kind of in the background, but not really in the background, because we're working with schools too. We're visiting schools and starting to get the administrators and teachers up to speed too. So we're doing quite a bit. So mahalo for all of your reading the materials that are here. It's really important because there's a lot of background that is going on and is made available, and there are other things that we are doing too. So mahalo for your question.
Yeah, the other things are so important. And then there's like a link to a whole presentation about the Ho'opili Aina gathering and who was there and like honoring all of that information. There's a whole presentation that's linked into the document. I just want to share briefly, this is what so next time we're going to be looking at, this is the pre-reading materials for next time. So if you folks are available next week to participate, we're going to be choosing which model to move forward with. And then we're going to be kind of just addressing those types of things and then looking at some of this data. So this is going to be for next week. Yeah, just wanted to share. Anybody have any other mana'o or other questions that we might be able to answer? I'm excited for this mana'o because it's like just in a ana, like in a little cave, like yelling at myself about all these important things. And then all of us in the cave just yelling at, and echoing and resounding. But to hear other new people come in, it's good. Bethany, aloha, I see your hand up.
Aloha ku'ule, and thank you so much for facilitating. You've been doing a great job. I just wanted to get clarification. I'm obviously new to the conversation and trying to get up to speed, but how do we reach out to other folks and get them involved? What's that onboarding process look like?
So if you wanted to share the information, so just like kupuna, they're like, just come, just come, like just come. So there's that, but also you can share the link. So the link that I put in the chat, or my email and my phone number is Noah, like if Noah, free, available to use and share. And people can call me if they're like kupuna and don't know how to do links or whatever. I'm available. And then also email works. Otherwise, you can share with them the link so that they can do the pre-reading. And then just come. Yeah, just come. Just come.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, mahalo.
Did you see Councilwoman Jen's question?
Oh, let's see. How should we connect with the team? Is that what? So
no, the one about businesses.
Oh no, I didn't see that. Oh, should we be inviting additional businesses that do takeout to participate in the process? Yes. Yes, please. We're a small team with sometimes limited time. So if each one of us here on this system design team call, particularly those of us in Hilo, can reach out to 5 people, either individuals or businesses or people that you're interested in getting them to make less rubbish, invite them to next week. Send them the link to share it in your stories. Tell your tutu and your dogs, everything. Just get as many people to come and be part of the process as possible. Just to be clear, so in the pre-reading, you'll see that there are different proposed participants, like these are different groups. Can you see my screen?
No.
Oh, okay. That's because I didn't hit share. How about now?
Yes.
Okay, so the system design team is all of us, everyone who's interested to provide feedback. Potential consumers are all who are interested to eat from reusable foodware. F&B are people, businesses who are interested to offer it reusable foodware in their day-to-day. Potential transport services might be like, I don't know, maybe rubbish type people or Uber type people, people that frequent places often. they might want to also be part of this conversation. And then potential service operators. So there are some re-entry programs, like I think Going Home Hawaii, they work with Moho Aloha, or like folks who are coming out of prison systems, and they're just trying to get back on their feet. Like there's lots of Arc of Hilo, there's lots of organizations that might be interested in operating the system. So these are the different proposed participants. And in this document, you'll see that next week, the proposed participant is the food and beverage establishments. But please recognize that it should be a given that all of the system design team, like the system design team people who are interested in participating and available to participate, we should be at all of these meetings, if we're available. So yeah, that's the intention. So to answer your question, Jen, yes, please share far and wide.
Really, can I add something to that?
Yes.
One thing we're conscious of is that this foundation is a really important thing for anyone who wants to participate to have. And that's one of the reasons that this meeting was recorded, is so if someone does want to join a future meeting, whether it's next week or 2 weeks from now, we do ask. We can't do this every time. It wouldn't be a good use of anybody's time. So we do ask before people join for their first meeting that they watch this recording so that they are fully prepared to participate in the process, when they join the call. It will be very challenging to have this process move the way that I think we all want it to, if we have to do this for the first hour of every conversation, and then we finally get to the content in the second hour. So just wanted to flag that.
Yes, so pre-reading and the recording. The pre-reading and the recording, yeah.
Ku'ule, Auntie Marcia asked, is there a list of F&Bs that are in? Is there a way we could share the, could we share just the list of names? Or yes, anyway, just to address her question.
Yeah, totally. So far we're in close communication with Island Naturals, and then also the Locavore store. We're just communicating with them so far. And then also we've been in touch with KTA, and I think we have a connect at Ken's House of Pancakes. I have titas that work at /own Ola Brew and Keaukaha General Store. And then I have a couple of families who do catering businesses. So that's just a brief off the top of my head list so far. But we're working to develop one via a document. So yeah.
And
yeah.
I just wanted to bring up another point too. One of the behind the scenes things is we have met with Hawaii Island Chamber of Commerce too. And Miles and his assistant are super helpful. So we'll be working with them, I'm sure, more. So
yeah, mahalo. Yes, mahalo. There's been so much work that's done already. So and I think we're just about at time. So I just want to say that I'm really thankful again, everybody. I want to leave you with a word today. In addition to all the hualeki kona, or the lexicon of reuse that we learned earlier, I want to leave you with the word mili mili. And mili mili is a word that refers to a type of lollygagging that was sacred in the old day. And today, because we have things to do and places to be, we don't have the opportunity to lollygag, which means we don't have the opportunity to develop intimate relationships with the soil and the grass and the wind and the clouds. And so can everybody unmute yourself and say mili mili?
Mili.
Mili mili. It's like a fondness, to develop a fondness of something. So between now and the next time, I invite you to, in your life, not because I only have 30 minutes, I gotta reread. I invite you to mili mili, to take your time with, enjoy, be curious about this process. And really, it was a labor of love to write this work, and to collaborate with Indigenous and non-Indigenous systems. So please allow yourself the time to enjoy the work that was created so far via the documents that are posted online. And let us mili together as we're on this fast moving train. Let us enjoy. So mahalo to each of you. Let us come together again next week, and hopefully we come with more ohana ready to have these kinds of conversations. Hannah, mahalo to you for being so present, and to each of you for being here. I don't have anything else. Anybody else on the team? Okay, awesome. That's it. I'll see you folks soon. Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you all for joining.